Welcome back people, tonight we are talking about Hcmc. We're doing a video similar to the ones which we have done recently on AMC, because in the AMC video we had a look at the share price and then actually had a quick look at some people's opinions on the stock, so that is similar to what we are doing tonight. We have a Reddit article to talk about, and I think this does portray some very interesting news. So again, all good stuff coming up in this video. It's going to be as short as possible. Obviously we just reflected on the price action today, clearly not much to talk about in that regards, because we have sat flat for the majority of the day, actually declining by a further 2.7%, now back up to the green in 0%. You can get a bit of a picture of what has gone on today. Very boring stuff. Anyway, all of that and much more coming up in this video. Make sure to give it a like and subscribe. Obviously it's not financial advice, do your own research. Again, this video is not intended to make you want to buy the stock, it's not intended to make you want to sell the stock, it's just my personal thoughts. Do your own research and come to your own conclusions, as your views may differ from mine. But now that I have mentioned that to you, we are just going to quickly jump in, again quickly looking at the price of Hcmc. Very boring, not much to talk about. And these days do frustrate quite a lot of people. Barcoding up, down, up, down, up, down, all day, nothing going on. Down by 5%, up to 0%, down by 2%, up to 1% up. You know, the share price fluctuating consistently, but nothing has happening. Now this is not the best, it's not the worst either. The most ultimate thing which I do think we need to focus on is that over the past month rather, we have seen this rather large gain, as we already know. This was on last Friday, I do believe it was, or the week before that. We saw this rise up to about 0.002. And again, from there, we have came down ever so slightly, but we didn't touch the previous floor, which was set at around 0.001. So again, we have came up significantly from there, and we have stayed up. I think that's what we need to remember. The share price is now on about 0.0018. Again, this is consistently fluctuating to the 1.7 range, but we are still quite high in relation to where we were previously. And a lot of people have said it on Reddit, and I think it is an interesting way of wording things. We are not getting big growth yet, we are building a stairway to the moon. Very interesting way of putting it. I do like to laugh at that, but I do kind of see where people are coming from. Now, as an Hcmc shareholder myself, I'm happy that it is moving up slowly. It means that my position is almost in the green. I've been down about 40% plus, now I'm down by only 8%. Again, this has probably moved up as the share price just did, but this is really good and it is what we like to see. So we're nowhere near touching the heights that we have been seeing, but please do bear in mind we are still waiting on a big important date. We're still waiting on this lawsuit information from Judge Mr. Timothy C. Batten, seeing what he says about this lawsuit. This was updated 78 minutes ago, and in that time period, nothing was said. So again, we still have nothing to report on today. Not necessarily a bad thing. It should be coming out, well, at any time. We just don't know when it is going to come out, but when it does come out, it could be monumental for Hcmc's share price. So right now, people who are buying this one, it's just simply in anticipation. But when this does come out, if it's bad, of course Hcmc's price is going to plummet. However, if it's good, we probably are going to see Hcmc's price rocket. Because let's face it, if this one works in Hcmc's favour, it is going to be a big deal, whether you like it or not. Personally, I would love that to be the case. I think it definitely could. We've talked about this before, and we'll probably look at the fundamentals again this weekend. But obviously Hcmc, from a fundamental standpoint, around this lawsuit, this patent lawsuit, has a lot potentially going for it. Anyway, let's quickly move on to this information, this opinion rather, based on why Hcmc's buyback potential may not hit $1. So to quickly explain things, obviously this is kind of ahead of where we are right now. It's definitely thinking in a very optimistic light, even though they think it won't hit $1. But we don't actually have a ruling on the lawsuit yet. This is just an assumption that they do win the lawsuit, and even then, that they do buy back shares. Again, none of this guaranteed to happen, none of this guaranteed to be correct. It is just somebody on Reddit's opinion. So we are going to jump into this one. I know some people aren't going to like this section, as they do want to see it hit $1, but you know what? It's not my opinion, it's just somebody else's, so please do bear that in mind before you do leave an angry comment. Anyway, this person is saying that, say Hcmc was to be awarded $500 million, fairly reasonable in the lawsuit that would be, and decides to put it all towards buybacks. We can see that down here. Now, this is not enough to buy back the entire share float at the present prices rather. Buying back enough shares, nearly all, can take the price up to $1, but every single share bought back on the way to $1 will be bought for less than $1. The people who will own shares for $1 are the people who do not sell during the buyback. If nobody sells, however, and the buyback simply doesn't happen, Hcmc will keep offering up more shares that could be 1 cent, 5 cent, 25 cent, who knows. Basically, the more Hcmc has to pay per share, the lower the post buyback price. So basically sell at Hcmc's bid and lose out on the future $1 price, or refuse to sell and no meaningful change in price occurs anyway. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. So again, people aren't really going to like that one, as it does kind of shed a negative light on Hcmc. I've always said this about Hcmc. Guys, you already know that I own about 2.2 million shares. It is quite a lot for me, but at the end of the day, Hcmc was a gamble anyway. If it does pay off, which it definitely could, it could work in a very good way. And of course, if it doesn't work out, it definitely might not go in our favour. Ultimately though, I do see where this person is coming from. However, I do believe it is also the case that they don't need to buy back all shares, as obviously there are still shareholders. Last time I checked, there was around 400,000 shareholders which do own Hcmc. I do believe that is more of a conservative estimate now, as that information was published a few days ago. So what I'm trying to say is Hcmc, they don't necessarily need to buy back all of the shares. I would say about 50% of shares would be a decent amount to buy back, but that doesn't necessarily mean this one's going to hit $1. And I know that you guys aren't going to like me saying this, but I think with Hcmc, it's a case of don't be greedy. Let's face it, in theory, if this one was to go up to 1 cent, 10 cent, 20 cent, and you owned a million shares right now, for example, you would still make a lot of money. So what I'm trying to say, guys, is whilst the potential is on the table, because it absolutely is, I do see Hcmc as a decent buy still, but again, I think it is important not to be greedy. It has a lot going for it, and of course, it still could hit a very high price, but ultimately, please do be aware that that may not be the case. I personally definitely do think it can happen, but obviously it's also the potential that it might not. That's just my personal thoughts. I would love for it to happen. I think it absolutely could, but I also do see where this person is coming from. So again, this video is not intended to bash Hcmc stock. It's not intended to hate it. It's just somebody else's opinion. And because a lot of us on Hcmc in this video are probably going to be bullish, but you know what, I'm not saying this person is bearish, so don't get me wrong with that either, but sometimes it doesn't hurt to hear another opinion. That's all I'm trying to say. So I hope this video did bring you another opinion. Thank you for watching. You already know what my personal thoughts are, so I will see you all again very soon. Goodbye.